Step 11. Swing wall assembly. Keep all bolts loose in this step. Loosely attach the 110 ground SW to the bottom of the SW side panel using 4 G8 hex bolts with lock washer, flat washer, and T-nut. At each end of the ground SW, loosely attach one 111 diagonal with 1 G8 hex bolt with lock washer, flat washer, and T-nut. Pre-drill pilot holes with a 3/16 inch drill bit. Then attach the diagonals to the narrow window panels with one WL5 wafer lag with flat washer per diagonal. Now tighten all 6 G8 hex bolts from earlier in the step. In the opening of the SW side panel, attach the 112 SW tabletop tight to the corner of the panels with 3 S15 wood screws. Attach the 113 SW wall to the SW side panel in the location shown in figure 11.5 using the bolt holes as a guide, with 4 G21 hex bolts with lock washer, flat washer, and T-nut. Make sure the bolts are tight. Step 12. Install fort ground stakes. Move the fort to its final location prior to attaching ground stakes. The final location must be on level ground. In the 4 places shown in figure 12.1, drive the rebar ground stakes 13 inches into the ground against the wall ties and diagonals. Be careful not to hit the washer while hammering stakes into the ground, as this could cause the washer to break off. Attach ground stakes to the wall ties and diagonals using one S7 pan screw per ground stake. After driving stakes into the ground, check for sharp edges caused by the impact of the hammer. Smooth any sharp edges from impact area and touch up with outdoor paint. Warning: to prevent tipping and avoid potential injury, stakes must be driven 13 inches into the ground. Digging or driving stakes can be dangerous if you do not check first for underground wiring, cables, or gas lines. Step 13. Chalk wall assembly. Place 130 chalk tabletop on top of 060 half panel at the front of the assembly, so it is tight to the door wall side narrow window panel. Attach the chalk tabletop to the half panel with 4 S15 wood screws. Notice the orientation of the cutout section in the chalk tabletop. Place the 131 chalk wall upright in the cutout section of the chalk tabletop, so it sits tight to the top of the half panel and in front of the joist side. Attach the chalk wall upright to the chalk tabletop with 2 S3 wood screws. On the front of the assembly, tight to the bottom of the Slidenest assembly, attach the 132 arch lintel to both narrow window panels with 4 S15 wood screws. Make sure there is a 9 1/4 inch distance between the door wall side narrow window panel and the chalk wall upright. Then attach the arch lintel to the chalk wall upright with 2 S15 wood screws. From inside the assembly, place the spin chalk sign in the opening between the door wall side narrow window panel and the chalk wall upright, so it sits tight to the top of the chalk tabletop. Attach the spin chalk sign to the narrow window panel and chalk wall upright with 6 S10 pan screws. Step 14. Door assembly. On the inside of the assembly, attach the 140 door bottom to the bottom of the door wall window panel with 8 S15 wood screws. On the inside of the 141 door window panel, measure 18 1/2 inches up from the bottom and attach catch plate using 2 S18 wood screws. Next to the catch plate, attach one door handle using 2 S13 pan screws. On the outside of the door window panel, attach the second door handle at approximately the same place as the one on the inside, using 2 S13 pan screws. Attach 2 door hinges on the outside of the door window panel on the opposite side of the door handle. Judge spacing based on figure 14.5. Use 3 S13 pan screws per hinge. The hinge stops must be tight to the door window panel, as seen in figure 14.6. In the notched out opening of the 142 doorstop, attach the magnetic catch using 2 S18 wood screws. Use a handheld screwdriver and do not over-tighten. In the opening for the door, measure 5/8 of an inch from the top of the door wall panel bottom and a maximum of 9/16 of an inch from the narrow panel on the door hinge side, and attach the remaining side of the hinges to the narrow window panel using 3 S13 pan screws per hinge. On the inside of the assembly, attach the door stop to the door wall window panel with 3 S15 wood screws, making sure the door stop overhangs the door wall window panel by 1 inch and is in position to receive the catch plate. Step 15. Attach roof gusset and tabletop. Centered and flush to the top of the transom panel back, attach the 150 roof gusset with 2 S15 wood screws. The side that measures 1 1/4 inches sits against the transom panel back, and the 1 3/4 inch side faces out. Place the 151 tabletop on top of the half panel at the back of the assembly, so the notches are tight to the narrow window panels. Attach the tabletop to the half panel with 4 S15 wood screws. Step 16. Attach floor joists and gussets. With one person inside the assembly, line 2 160 joists up to the pilot holes on the SW side panel. Make sure the distance between the two boards is 15 inches and the tops of the joists are flush to the top of the panel board. Then attach to the SW side panel with 2 S4 wood screws per joist. Next, attach both joist sides to the SW side panel with 2 S4 wood screws per joist. Line the two joists up to the pilot holes on the Crowsnest center on the door wall side, maintaining the distance between the two boards of 15 inches. The joists should rest on the door wall window panel. Attach the joists to the Crowsnest center with 2 S4 wood screws per joist. To the bottom of each joist, on the door wall side, attach one 161 gusset with 1 S4 wood screw per gusset. From inside the assembly, attach the gussets to the door wall window panel with 1 S3 wood screw and 1 S15 wood screw per gusset. Make sure the gussets are aligned to the pilot holes. Step 17. Floorboard assembly. Place 2 170 angle floors on the joist sides, joists, and Slidenest joist. These boards should be tight to the Crowsnest posts and Slidenest assemblies right and left. Tight to the outside of each angle floor, place 1 171 floor. These boards should be tight and flush to the inside corner of the narrow window panels. Attach both boards to the joists with 7 S20 wood screws in the angled floors and 6 S20 wood screws in the floors. On the inside of each angle floor, place 1 172 Slidenest floor and then evenly space 3 173 Slidenest floors in between the 2 Slidenest floors. On the swing side wall, place and evenly space 2 171 floors next to the already placed 171 floor. On the door wall side, place the 174 Crowsnest floor tight to each Crowsnest post. Then, evenly space the 175 Crowsnest floor and the 2 remaining 171 floors. Some boards may be tight to each other, and some may have a small space between them. Attach all unfastened floorboards to joists with S20 wood screws. Step 18. Attach wall boards to Slidenest assembly. Tight to each Crowsnest post and tight to the floorboards, attach 2 180 wall boards to the Slidenest assemblies right and left and both Slidenest L&R with 4 S20 wood screws per wall board. Step 19. Attach wall boards to Crowsnest assembly. On the door wall side, evenly space 2 180 wall boards between each narrow window panel and Crowsnest post and tight to the Crowsnest floorboards. Then attach to the Crowsnest assemblies right and left and both Crowsnest R and L with 4 S20 wood screws per wall board. Measure 10 5/8 inches from the Crowsnest post and attach the 190 center wall board to the Crowsnest center and Crowsnest top with 4 S20 wood screws. The center wall board should be tight to the Crowsnest floor. Center the 191 steering wheel dash on the Crowsnest top and center wall board. Then attach to the Crowsnest top with 2 S3 wood screws and to the center wall board with 2 S20 wood screws. Measure 3 1/4 inches from each Crowsnest post and attach 2 192 wall boards between the Crowsnest post and center wall board and tight to the Crowsnest floor with 4